So,
glad to be on board.
so, you'll have to give Dawn probably your city council email address.
Okay.
So she sends out notices of these meetings and everything, don't wanna use the county one, cause we'll be off that.
Sure. Well, I'll
So
be there
give
till
him-
April,
Yeah, but you should, you are the city rep, not the county rep.
Right, right.
So you should give her your city. Okay, with that said, I'll turn it over to Jim and Dave and we'll go from there.
Thanks for having us. I'm Jim Gersick. If you're looking at my spelling of my last name, just say the H as a K, you got it. Okay? I'm originally from Hurley, but I live now in Fitchburg. So I'm one of the principals of Dimension Fort Madison. David is a board for mine, introduce yourself.
I'm Dave Oldman. I'm located in Wausau, Wisconsin. We operate out of Wausau for city architecture, so I'll be involved in the project. I've also been a county board member, so I understand some of it. I've been listening to city council for 6 years. But we've had cats also for 30-some years, so long know them how they can be finicky. This is demanding.
Yeah, so what I would like to know is, we don't, some of you, what you do, but just for example, you're at the shelter.
Yes.
Okay, and your role in this is
Amendment of the county.
county, okay? And
I'm a citizen representative.
okay.
I'm county board supervisor and chairman of the animal control committee.
And the animal control committee, we understand is a joint.
Right, city and county.
Right.
It's a joint animal control.
I'm the city district three, state.
County.
County supervisor. Jill, you work for the county?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Okay, so, thank you for having us today. We did the introductions. I will do meeting notes. Jill will do the more formal meeting minutes. My meeting notes are not intended to be minutes. Okay, so I'll do my own meeting notes. And I would ask you when you get them, to please read them, because what happens is we are often asked questions, during the course of a meeting like this. And sometimes we don't know the answer right off, so, but we'll research it when we get back to the office, and then I'll load in the answer into the meeting notes. Okay, so it is important, even if you attend the meeting, to please read your meeting notes, okay? Now, just because I issue meeting notes doesn't mean that I captured it correctly. Sometimes I capture it the way I understand it, but it doesn't mean I've captured it correctly. So that's another reason to read the meeting notes, please. Just let me know by email, and then I will issue them revised 2-3 times if necessary.
Sure.
That doesn't happen very often, but I would be happy to do that, to correct it, and then everybody will get the corrected version. Okay? So I think that's an important part of the process. In addition, part number 2, to introduce our teams and our roles. Dan Peterson from Eau Claire, he works at Apex Engineering. He's our mechanical electrical consulting engineer. He's not with us today, but he'll be making a contact to be able to go visit the building. Sometime you'll expect to hear from him, if you don't mind doing it. And so, they are a plumbing, HVAC, and electrical engineering consulting firm. None of us are actually contractors, we're only designers. I hope that's clear to you. This is, just a consulting arrangement. So, you've engaged us really only to do the schematic design portion of this, kind of early design, and that's what we're gonna do. And, I've got a calendar here that we're gonna talk about in a little bit. So there may be other participants in the process, so what we do not intend to do unless you tell us to, and I'm not sure who the you is, because you is both a singular and a plural word, okay? So you will contact, and make, bring the input of people like your major employers in town, or like your, interested other groups, like your Rotary Club, or whatever it might be, your county board, your city council. Unless you tell us to, we won't make contact with those folks. We're happy to if you ask us to, no problem, not a problem. but we ordinarily would not. We would work directly with the animal control board and, you know, attend your meetings, but beyond that, unless you ask us or tell us, we will not be reaching out to other groups like that.
Terry up there, spokesman, he's the chairman, so, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll follow your lead. Does that make sense? So but there may be significant other stakeholders in the process, and now for a few minutes, I'm gonna actually stop talking and let you all talk. For instance, is there like a friends group or something like that that you lean on? We do it. Hi, how are you? Nice to meet you.
Friends and the donors, one
Good.
of the donors.
Good, nice to meet you. So you will engage the friends group, and then if there, wants to be like a design review or something, we're not unwilling, you just let us know. And we're not trying to step on any toes, we're just trying to be cooperative. Okay, that makes sense? And so are there other stakeholders that you can think of? Are there active, community organizations like, in Middleton, there's, Middleton, Outreach Ministries, who does a lot of engagement with the community, or anything like that we should be aware of? Major employers that might be potential major donors, anything like that?
Well, not specifically, we do have some that, give us some grants and everything, but basically, it's the county, city, it's a joint thing. And basically, the room addition is by, should we say, private donations. I don't think, you know, we've asked for donations or contributions from the county and things like that, and that's been basically turned down. So that is not going to be one of, you know, a funding source.
Okay, no public money per se.
Right.
Okay,
Unless something changes, but I don't foresee that happening.
sure. And then, that's pretty normal. And so, another thing in terms of stakeholders is like you have, villages, cities, and towns in the county that a county animal shelter provides service to. So to the degree that there's outreach to those folks in whatever way, just information sharing, whatever way, again, we won't do that unless you ask us or tell us to. We'll presume you will. But I would not discount that as parts of the process. So one thing we could help you with, and I'm jumping to number 3 now, community awareness participation. If you want us to, because we do this a lot, we can engage the municipalities around Rusk County through an online survey if you want us to. So what do I mean by that? So for instance, you have electeds, for instance, in the town of something, right down the road is the town of this, or the village of that, right? You have municipalities. And there could be a 3-question survey monkey, if you wanna use that term, we don't use that software, but it could be where we would, maybe as we get a little further to complete schematics, to engage these other municipalities, if for no other reason than for information sharing. Let them know what's cooking, let them see a drawing, whatever you might wanna do, and ask a question or 2 or 3 or 4. You know, are there members in your community who are really active in animal care? Okay, good to know, maybe you know them already, maybe you don't, and integrate them somehow in the process. So that's something I would ask you to put on the back burner as a possible survey, online survey, where we might ask, you know, 3 or 5 questions and share information, right? And we can do that with you, and we do that a lot. So I think of this, I'll be honest with you, I think of this much like a public library, that you're quasi-governmental, just like a public library is. A public library can do things like rent meeting rooms, whereas the city can't generate revenue from rental on meeting rooms. So I think of it kind of that way. Any questions or comments so far? So far makes sense to you? Am I barking up the wrong tree in any regard or stepping on political toes? It's common for me, believe me.
Oh, we have a lot of politics, you can step on a lot of toes.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, So, and the other thing is engaging your media, so, at some point in time, getting the word out, like a promo plan, PR. And we'll wanna help you with that, if in fact there's, private donation fundraising phase to this, which I'm gathering there likely is. And we're happy to help you with that, because again, as you can imagine, we do that a lot, various settings and various projects. Okay, so far? Good. All right, goal setting for the project. So if you could please turn your, agenda over to the back side. And again, I'm gonna do less talking and more recording here, but this is we found this to be a useful strategy where we conduct sort of an exercise. If you haven't had time before now, that's okay, not a problem. What I would ask you to do is think about filling in the blanks. So you see some examples down below, the ABCD that we hear quite often. Okay? And so I'd rather do it right than cheap out. Okay? Or I'd rather we spend a bit more time adding features that reduce operating costs, because we know we're not gonna get more money for operating costs later, or whatever. And we would rather these be your I'd rather thans than ours. Okay? Because we see these a lot, but these may not be your situation or your preference. So what we're gonna do here is just a little round and around until we run out of gas here for a few minutes. Okay, so I'm suspecting, Dawn, ladies first, but I'm suspecting you did think about this a little bit. So do you mind going first and it isn't necessarily what you wrote down, but if you wanna embellish it in words, you know, more words are better than
You
fewer
want me to do all
words.
three or one at a time?
One at a time.
Okay, so I would rather we have more natural light.
More natural light than just a few windows, and then even than what exists there now. Okay. Alright. So I take that to mean, in part, I'll flip that around, see if I'm correct. That your perception at least, is that the existing facility has too few windows, or conversely, just flat out not enough natural light.
Yeah,
That'd be
in
true too?
some parts,
In some
yeah.
situations, okay. Okay.
This will be made clear to you when you go out there.
Easily, I mean, for an adoption cat room, it's good to have natural light for the cats. I mean, the ones in the cages aren't gonna get windows in the cages, obviously, but if they're the full space, the cat cage is against one wall, there's no light on that wall.
Got it.
You know what I mean? So-
Yep, absolutely.
So there, the specific areas you want, would like more light, like clear areas or different spaces.
Very good.
Yes.
Okay.
Excuse me, that being said, do you ever design a facility where actually cages for like the living facility?
Sure.
Just thinking,
Absolutely.
so that, you know, you get light all the animals.
All the way around.
Yeah, yeah,
So is that something I can write down for you, if you don't mind?
absolutely.
Okay, so you'd like, consider cages toward the middle of the room for more lighting all around. Is that a good way to word it?
That's just going along with what Dawn.
Makes sense, though. It would be easier to.
You would just put them, instead of having them like this against the wall, you would have them kind of back.
Yeah.
Would it be easier to clean?
And then they could get
Let's
light,
send
you
you
know,
a bio.
they could get light from both sides.
Okay, all right.
Light exposure.
Yep. Your idea will come to in just a minute. We're just gonna go around, but don't forget your idea, right? You're next. If you don't have one, you can say pass.
No, but I
And we'll get
just-
to you later.
Yeah, my biggest thing was make sure we have a realistic goals, you know what I mean? Sometimes
Realistic.
people, realistic goals.
Realistic
Yeah,
goals.
cause a lot of times when you get to the table, you know, a lot of times, there's people that shoot for the moon here, you know, what we're just trying to provide service
Just needed-
in as cost effective as we can. So, you know, that's probably my number one thing right
Okay, so I got two parts to your, have realistic goals that are as cost effective as we can.
now. Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, we're gonna keep going around and
Sure.
around until people are like, yes. Okay, Terry, you're up.
Okay, My one was, and when we come around another round, then I'll attack what I just saying, but I would rather the cat room addition is designed for the cats, so it's critter friendly rather than for people pleasing. It's the, in effect, the cats are our clients. And I'd rather it be designed that way, so for example, you might have a lot of boxes of cats like to hide in boxes and climb on stuff and all that stuff, and where a person might look and say, what a bunch of junk and crap. But, I mean, again, we want it designed for the animals, for the cat's, environment, rather than necessarily for the people.
Good, good. Cat room addition, designed for cats rather than for people, cats being the clients.
But optimally promoting their adoption through that
Right.
environment.
Right, right.
Jill, I didn't mean to skip over you, do you wanna play this
Nope,
game, or you
nope,
good?
you guys just
Yeah.
go.
Okay, you're welcome to, you know, if you do have a thought as you go, feel free. Okay,
I think we should build it with the future in mind, not just the here and now. But I mean, with the potential for getting more cats. I'm not sure how you do that though, that's just what don't you understand, right?
Yeah.
So we just figured for here and now, it's gonna be like, well, 5 years from now, 2 years from now, we're gonna have a huge cat population explosion and you and me both, honey. We won't have anybody, but.
So is that a larger master plan, to say, well, we adopt this layout for the future? Not good,
I really don't know.
but just.
Something to that effect, yeah.
we could consider that, so.
I think,
right?
I think one of the things that's being discussed right now, when we've talked with people, is that we are not enlarging the capacity for more cats at this point. We are trying to get them out of the storage room, which you will see. It's to get them into a more friendly environment and to get them adopted. Because people are saying, well, you know, you're trying to enlarge that and everything, and some people are not in favor of expanded capacity. But we're saying, we're not expanding capacity, we're simply taking them out of the storeroom and putting them out where they should be so that they can be adopted. So it probably goes a little bit against that, but,
Yeah.
you know,
But it will create more room in a sense,
right,
because there's two parts, I mean, there's this adoption room and then there's, I call this room purgatory. But there's gonna be a purgatory room, which the purpose of it is to separate out, put more adoption floor. Purgatory is where cats are, that there's nothing wrong with them, they might not be spayed or neutered, or they're just waiting for a spot up here. We don't have that right now. All my cats that are in purgatory are all with the cats that are sick, or all with the cats that are not available, they're all in one garage.
well, and also to segregate if somebody's sick
That's what I
or,
do,
you know,
I
a
gotta have a sick
hospital
room, I
thing,
gotta have a,
you know,
waiting room.
quarantine, you know, whatever. So we can make use of the space that we have now
That's what
that they're all
the purpose
crammed in.
they're all like, they're in the, I call it the stew, they're in the stew right now.
Okay, so here's what I got. After Nancy talked about build, I'm repeating this to see if I got it right. Build with future in mind, not just for the here and now. And then David, asked a question, so I wrote down, and consider a master plan approach to the building and site. Then Terry said, we're not enlarging cap capacity per se. And then Dawn said, we need a purgatory room, sick or quarantine, but that would be for cats waiting for a spot up front for adoption.
Well, when I said that, that's what we've been telling people because we've been attacked on that point. And we're saying we're not increasing capacity, we're simply moving them out. That doesn't mean we can't consider that. But we've been telling people right now that, when we've been attacked on this, that we are simply not enlarging, we're simply getting them out of the.
Cause people were wondering why we didn't build it with adequate space to begin with.
Sure.
And I think it was more of a thing of building with money we had
And getting it done.
and getting it done,
Not
yeah, because the
thinking
place
about-
they,
There was not thought process, I mean, there was thought process, but not,
Well, I was told there was stuff that got
Correct.
cut out just so they could get it going.
not correct.
Yeah.
Well,
Process, I guess, is the-
it all boils down to money.
Yeah.
Right. I win the lottery.
Okay, so what I wrote down, Nancy, is the current structure was done, given the money we had at the time.
Yeah.
Just to get it done.
Mhm.
And open up an operation. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. Let's see. Tom. you're up.
Yeah, well, you're gonna have to look at it, make sure it's, the ease to clean,
Easy to clean,
easy to clean and proper drains
easy to clean and anything.
and access to all the parts and also air. Make sure there's
Drains.
Ventilation.
ventilation is
Filter.
very, yeah.
Mhm.
The ventilation right now is,
You can use the big word.
it's better than it was,
It is definitely.
because it meant to be,
It's filthy.
filter.
So is there actually some
There's problems.
modification that's either being or has been done?
Okay, so there's filters,
Mhm.
two filters in the dog room, both dog rooms have two filters. There's these air things that pull air up, out into those filters, those have to be cleaned. And then there's a filter in the, furnace.
In the unit itself.
They were on a rotation, I think, the same as this building, every 3 months or something, every 3 or 4 months. They have to be changed every month. Cause they cannot, if you go, even right now, I think the next change is December 28th. You can feel and tell when the quality of the air in the shelter starts going, it's already starting and it's been not even a
So
month
you
yet.
want something more consistent, like using like what we call an energy recovery, where some of that air is exhausted, all the energy is transferred to the incoming air to preheat it. And then you can save energy, but keep your outside air cleaner as it comes in.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
that might be
you'll be able,
where
it'll be the
constant.
first, if you notice air stuff, it'll be the first thing. And where the cats are right now, I don't think there's any air exchange in there.
Okay.
It gets very hot in there and it's just like when you go in there, you can smell the difference and you can, you know what I mean, and the heat goes up. So when you go in there to clean some of the kitty kennels that are a little bit higher, I mean, it's hot up there.
The roasted.
So, yeah, so it's not, they should not be in there, but,
And that's,
we definitely need some, and that's why I was talking like, windows help with light but then definitely need some sort
That
of.
environment designed for the cat to be in the client,
Mhm.
is that even when you're perceiving that as, if you're adopting a pet, coming into that environment
Mhm.
is gonna make that much pleasurable environment,
Right.
where it's gonna increase the efficiency of your operation.
And there's a lot of dust because of the cat litter too, so, but now that we get a minimal amount of dust settle, I mean, you can see it, sometimes it'll just, and we wipe it down, but it's definitely the air, whatever air exchange system is, it's not keeping up with the dander and the dust and the, but, like I said, it's better, if we get on it and get everything changed every month, it works, but.
Just an aside to that, just 10 minutes before we started this meeting, I talked with an individual here in the courthouse who said, because they had said that those filters had never been changed out there and everything, they said that is absolutely not true, because they had changed them with Karen, that probably since Karen left, they hadn't been done.
Oh, yeah, there
And
was like
that-
there was a gap there.
There
No,
was
if
a
they would've
gap.
been changed, you probably would've lost your whole system.
Yeah, so they said the
Yeah.
filters had been changed and on a regular basis, but when she left, then it just probably fell apart, as far as we know.
And Dan Peterson and our guys there will evaluate the performance of these. They do, David, have one furnace, and then 3 of these, air exchangers, they were calling them here. I don't know if they're ERBs or not, they're bringing in outside air, 225 CFM, but they're delivering that right into the furnace. And then there's connecting up from the other side for return air, so.
That may be
It's a
something to look
system,
at.
but
Mhm.
we need to analyze how effective it is.
How about our exercise committee? Is that good, bad?
It's, in the summer months, it's, the dog room, if the air is not on, it is bad in there. I mean, we have to turn it on, but even when it starts getting warm, you can just smell the stagnant, the dogs are breathing, and, you know what I mean, especially if you got a lot of them in there.
Sure.
And the air, obviously, when you put the air on, it helps, but, it's almost like a stagnant, and if someone goes to the bathroom, it's not like, it just sticks kind of in the air.
See what they have, these are called unit heaters, these suspended space heaters for the
Yep.
heating side. And then there's really, per se, there's really not air conditioning in these rooms.
They, we have wall units or something. You'll see.
Anyway, okay, so what I got here is, Tom says, easy to clean and maintain, proper drains, plenty of ventilation. And then Dawn added, filters, 2 of them, in the dog room need to be changed monthly, in addition to the filter on the air handling unit being the furnace. Okay, humidity in the dog room, no good in summertime, too excessive humidity. Okay, so that was Tom, so now we're keep going, so now we're back to
This one is
Dawn.
kind of same as he said, but I put it, I'd rather have it, rather we made it functional rather than beautiful. I mean, of course, I want it to look nice,
Yeah, right.
but I want it to be functional, I want the employees to be easily clean. Right now, we only have so many employees, and so when we have to run around, usually it's me and Nicole have to run around and change all these filters. Sometimes if we're really busy, we forget. And this time, maintenance came over, and they're like, oh, and they checked on everything for me, I'm like, oh, cause we have to get on ladders to change this stuff.
Right.
And we have to bring these down, we have to run some of this stuff through water because of the dander, it just sticks.
Sure.
You can't just pat it outside and get some of that dust out
Right.
there.
So I'm taking it, what you're saying, and I'm gonna read this back to you. Rather it be functional than be beautiful, but easily cleanable.
Mhm.
So is it a combination of staff and volunteers and county maintenance people who do the work there?
Maintenance people come and.
County maintenance people,
Yes,
county maintenance plus staff share the cleaning. Is that right?
just of the filters and stuff
Yeah,
like that,
right, right, I get it. County is gonna plow you,
yeah.
like
Right.
snow on the ground.
Yeah.
Mow the lawn maybe if you have lawn to mow. But, basically, they're not rushing out there to clean up a doggy doo-doo.
No.
They're not doing anything like that.
It's right now, we have to like go all over the place to remember where all these filters are.
Yeah.
And I have kind of a list and, you know, I
Do
don't
they-
want this dog and that dog or whatever.
So I'm gonna make something up for illustration, okay? Pardon me for being rude. If you perceive me to be rude, I don't mean to be rude. Does somebody vacuum this room once a day? At night? Let's say they do. Do they come to your place once a day, once a night? They come, what frequency they come?
They don't, we,
Something to think about. So cleanliness is one thing, but ease of maintainability by limited staff and volunteers is a different thing. Okay, got it. Alright, so we did you, keep going around.
Me?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, I
Alright.
forgot your name already, my bad.
I'm the other Tom.
Tom.
Good
Okay.
job.
We have Tom.
Yeah, I guess, along with what Tom said, you know, make it easy to maintain, which would then, we're gonna meet with, you know, some negative thoughts about possibly if, when we build this on, that we may have to look at hiring somebody else, which is not gonna fly, you know. Animal shelter is like that very low on the totem pole as far as the county is concerned. So if, like Tom said, if we make this so that the same amount of staff that we currently have can maintain it, that would be awesome. Also, I think, if we were to build.
Is this a different thought?
Well,
Then
sort of.
easy?
I was just going, with that, but
Hang on one
I have
second.
another thought too.
Pardon me. So, Tom said you want it easy to maintain without additional staffing. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Alright, we'll get to your other thought in a minute, we're gonna keep going around. Sorry, I don't mean to
I'd
be
like to
rude.
get your
I'll make
idea.
sure everybody has a chance.
I'd like to get your ideas on, you know, it's one thing to build a shelter, but the rehabilitation of the animals, to promote not only your services, but also, to promote the general public access to the animals. What I was thinking about doing is, you know, you could have an outside billboard with the animals that might be available. The other thing is you could have a viewing window to this area where if I wanted to stop the car and get the family out and take a look through the window there and maybe see a cat, that I could come back, hey, when you're open, you see what I mean?
Yep.
Right now, you have to access the inside of the building.
So you're
There's a view.
promoting general public
There's a view.
access to animals for viewing.
Yeah, a
and
viewing
adoption.
area, right. And by the same token,
Stop going
to
inside.
take the pressure off
Yeah,
Dawn and their staff, if we could chip, you know, if you adopt somebody, you know, if you chip them,
Yeah.
then you know what, if you let them go, then you know what, there should be a fine. If we get the chip and can read it, who let it go, there should be a way to find those folks. Cause then we have to bring them back, and, you know what I mean?
Yep, yep.
So, but I mean, the biggest thing is to promote our services, and then also the access to the general public. There's an awful lot of people that go through that lot during the day, and you know, we have limited hours, we have limited staff. Just think if they could walk up to the window and look through there and see 40 cats, and they say, hey, you know, I want Molly over there, and I'll come back 10 o'clock tomorrow morning and get her.
We do actually have, there's
There
two
are
windows,
view windows.
there's two windows right now that are the multi-cat rooms. There's just two, but you can see them.
On the west
And
side.
then the other
Mhm.
window, where this building hopefully is gonna be attached, you can actually see in there. I don't know if
You'll be
they
able
want
to
anybody
see.
lurking around, yeah, you can see all the cats.
Okay,
Yep.
right now you got them in the warehouse where you can't see
Those,
some of them.
nope, those are, so, if you haven't been in the shelter, okay, so the two windows multi-cat, that is our adoption floor.
Okay,
The other window is the other adoption area where the cats are in cages. The room you're talking about, that is in the storeroom in the garage. Those cats that are sitting back there, there's a combination of them. I think I have one back there right now that is available for adoption. I've got a few that have ringworm, I've got a few that have upper respiratory, and I've got one that's not spayed yet. So they're all in the same room.
oh, I
So-
see.
Those are the cats that I'm trying to, the one for adoption could be moved up if I had somewhere for her to go. I also have two cages in the laundry room that have cats in them, and I have one cage in the hallway that has two cats in it. Those are what, if we have this room, they wouldn't be there. They wouldn't be in the laundry room, they wouldn't be in the hallway, they would be in the adoption area.
So in
But I'm
terms,
trying to get windows
Sure.
in some of these rooms for that.
yeah, so Mike, in terms of your big picture comment going around here, promote general public's access to animals and your services and provide opportunities for becoming more aware of these pets.
Right,
So
because
for
it's
instance,
a huge selling point to the general public.
yeah,
If
So-
we're gonna invest these types of monies, you know what, we don't wanna increase the size of the animal shelter till it's all the way out to the highway. You know what, we want people to adopt these animals. Well, you know what, the more access we give the general public to the animals, the better opportunity we're gonna have to adopt them out.
right. And so I'm interpreting your concept of promoting several ways. One is the windows that Don explained.
Right,
Another is pet of the week on the local TV station or on the county website or other ways, right?
right,
Right,
yes.
okay, good.
We do have some of that now.
Another week,
Yeah, well, in the newspaper, you've got,
if we have time to get it up, yes.
right,
We have
and it's
limited-
on the
we have
website
limited
and
staff.
everything, so we do
So-
have that.
But I'm just interpreting the word promoting
Yes.
in multiple ways.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Thank
And
you.
there are some advantages with that, we went through, I was on the city council, and we went through this with the Humane Society as far as the cost. We actually figured out the cost of each animal being brought to the animal shelter. One of the things we did was we gave discounts on chipping, as far as giving everyone chips, so if you find them, going back there, and they can go back to their owner very quickly.
Yeah.
To avoid it. The other thing is just overall, as far as getting those animals adopted as quickly as possible.
Right.
Because that's gonna be a selling point for the Humane Society or the animal shelter, as far as getting them back into our replacement.
Sure.
animal
And
shelter.
you know know, those numbers, Dawn, that'll make a selling point if you look at it, because you know what, see, I've, over the year, I've taken in 80 cats. Well, you know, if I adopt out 40, you know, that's a big thing.
And I have all those numbers to, animal shelters account. I put all my animal numbers into this little system, and a lot of shelters in the whole United States are in that system.
Sure.
So at the end of every year, I get a readout of everything. I think we've had already over 400 plus animals come in,
Sure.
which is
See, them
100 and some more than last year, I believe.
Yeah, but those are great numbers.
Yep.
But for the general public,
Mhm.
you know, we don't, they're probably the best kept secret in the world.
Education is
Cause
like,
no,
But-
but I mean,
yeah.
and just to promote that Russ County
Yeah.
Animal Shelter website, you know, is a big thing, cause most people now are kinda computer oriented, so.
and those are the things that are lacking because I don't have time to do that.
Oh, no, but no fault of your own.
Website,
But I'm just
Facebook,
saying, when
you know, those are,
you're amp up,
Yep.
you know, that's one place, you know, the county and city might have to give you help,
right.
you know what I mean?
Right, just to bring up one thing, this past
Oh,
Saturday.
no, but
Dream on.
This past Saturday, I was just watching television, and this came up, they have rescuing animals, and so they're bringing dogs, rescued, but they have them pre-adopted before they even got there. And
Yeah.
they advertised it, and they had probably 40 to 50 people waiting for those dogs already, that were already signed off. But it was that promotion, they've got a coordinator that is now a promoter, where they were showing that it's now doing this regionally. But it's a whole organization that does it, pretty interesting, before they even go into the shelter.
Well, you had some of that with, the certain farm, when you got some of those puppies, they
Yes.
were gone before you even basically got them.
And I have animals, when we get dogs and there's a wait time at the veterinary clinics now, everybody's really backed up, especially the dogs, it takes us a minute. So I have people coming in and they see them, I'm like, okay, well, when I get them fixed, you know, have built the adoption application. So some of my dogs don't even make it. I think the last 6 dogs we had adopted didn't even make it to Facebook, because people came in and saw them. The only reason I don't like doing that is because if something happens under anesthesia, then now this person, but I do it, it's rare, it's just, you get worried sometimes when they go to the vet, if they haven't had their, you know, surgery and stuff like that, things can happen, but it usually doesn't, but it only takes one time to.
Terry, you're up. I see Terry over there now. I'm starting to get my feet on the ground. I see Tom over there. Okay, so now I'm starting to figure things out. See, your names are on the thing over there.
Yeah.
I'm starting to get my feet on the ground here. Takes me a while. Terry, you're up.
Okay, well, the first one I already gave you, the second one tied out with what Tom was saying about an adequate heating and ventilation system that's cost effective and not necessarily the cheapest thing. So my third one would be, kind of against what I said before a little bit, but I'd rather have an aesthetically pleasing, when people walk in or look and say, wow, rather than, you paid how much for that? Factor.
I think the lighting too, if you got enough natural light and lighting, I think that helps, that will help with.
Kinda enhanced.
And my main concern is that the cats, I mean, I want people to come in and like it, but I also want the animals that are in there to be having fun. Because if they're in a dark place and they can't stay out, they get depressed and
It's
then,
stressed out,
yeah.
not as accepting of people when they come look at them.
Well, that goes back to my first one about designing it for the animals.
Okay, so I put a footnote to Tom's, for your second one, adequate HVAC, not necessarily the cheapest. And then I added, your other one, aesthetically pleasing rather than, and this is my word, a Cadillac image perception.
Well, you know, people come in and look at it, and so it should be aesthetically pleasing rather than they look at it and they say, that piece of junk, you paid how much for that?
Oh, I see, I get it.
So that's why I'm saying aesthetically pleasing that way,
That's
so
a
they
piece-
say,
piece of
wow,
junk.
that's really great, rather than, you paid how much for that?
Okay, yeah,
So
I get it.
we basically want good design,
Right.
At a reasonable cost.
right, right,
Economical and frugal.
right.
Got it. Thank you, Jerry. Okay, Nancy, you're up.
Well, I was pretty much just gonna say, like, the first one you got there for aid, do it right, rather than do it cheap. Because you're just gonna end up having to get something done, redone, a few years later. And there might not be any money around to repair things, redo or whatever.
So I suspect, Nancy, one of the things that you're going to, or already have been focused on is just how much wood is available to make this happen. So, is it $100, is it $1,000, is it $100,000? What is it? And what, and once we agree on a number, what can we buy for that? Okay. Or we could do it the reverse way, which doesn't tend to work quite as well. Here's what we prefer to have, how much does it cost?
I think that's what we're kind of looking at in a way, because you can see, okay, this is what we would like and everything, you think, well, it's gonna cost 2 million, well, forget that. And then you start chopping down or redoing it, rather than say, okay, here's your budget, you can't go over it, you know, right away. Because again, if it comes out and is really a wow factor and everything, that can be a push for fundraising too. Saying, well, you know, this is what it's gonna look like, but this is how much it's gonna cost too.
So I'm gonna amend Nancy's to say, do it right rather than cheap, but establish a realistic budget.
Right.
Okay, so that'll be an interesting sort of Rubik's Cube approach to life here, right? That we need, it might or might not look anything like this. And we know we need maybe to do some things in here that we wouldn't have thought of yesterday, because we're uncovering some deficiencies that if these were better, whatever they might be, it would make life much better, even when the building is expanded.
Well, exactly what you just said, when I had this at the county board to move it along to another committee. One of the things I got attacked on was, why 20 by 40? What about 21 by 41? And I'm like, the whole purpose of this meeting is to get the architect and to come up with a design and to do it. It might be a different dimension and everything, but again, that was the issue. Well, maybe, you know, how did you decide on that?
That's what fits our cages that we have.
So that's, it ties up with exactly what you said.
Could I say something?
Sure.
I'm a donor.
Right.
And it's probably been over a year ago, I pledged a certain amount of money. But if you've got a great design and I think it's wonderful, I'm more than likely willing to donate more money towards the project. So, you know, I'd rather not be limited by a specific budget as much as come up with a good design that we really like.
And ma'am, we appreciate that, and I would say too, based on our experience, you're not unique. Here's an example. The municipality in, the village of Marshall, which is east of Madison, wanted a $500,000 project. They didn't care anything about anything as long as it was a $500,000 project. A lady like you in the community had a stock portfolio, and she said, no, we're not doing that. You're not having my money unless you do it right and put it in this location. So it does happen that way in some communities. So, you know, I'm not saying this lady is that person, but I'm just saying it's not uncommon to find that kind of an approach. So we will have an efficient plan, and a good master plan. David will work on a master plan to show incremental changes and how things can incrementally improve life all the way around, whether they're in the existing building or in the expansion.
Improve the life and improve the cost.
Yes, and reduce the operating costs.
Cause every improvement is gonna have a cost.
Yes, it will.
Yeah.
So it'll be kind of
You know what I mean,
our
when you
current
start-
approach to life, if you wanna think of that.
And I think that's this whole thing, you know, you start out with the basics, but then all of a sudden here's accessories. And these accessories, here's the dollar amount to each one of those.
Yeah.
Cause you know, unless you educate the general public, and the people are the key players in here, like the county and the city and the difficult, because we've gotta get the message out. Because when it comes down to building, like Terry said, you know, these folks in this room are gonna take the heat if it doesn't turn out right.
Sure, sure.
Either
You know what I
way,
mean?
we're gonna take it.
Right, yep, so,
Right, and so I'm gonna add one here to help you think this through, pardon me for hijacking the agenda. out of it. So, one of the things I think you're implying, at least to me, so I'm articulating it a different way, is we need to make improvements that not just enhance, the feline population, but if we can do some improvements that also enhance the dog lovers as opposed to the cat haters,
yes,
right? It's good all around,
right.
good for everybody, right?
I think when you go out there and look at it, because this addition or additional room, it's all gotta be tied in with the heating, air conditioning, ventilation and everything. And so there have to be some major changes in the current shelter to do that. I mean, I'm sure there'll have to be another furnace in addition or whatever, but that's for, your people to look at and to come up with. But there may be changes, like you just said, in the original one to make the whole thing work.
Right, good. All right, you didn't know you said all that, Nancy.
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
I
you did a
talked a
great
lot,
job.
but not that much.
But you did a wonderful job, okay, Tom, you're up.
I think it's been covered pretty well, but we have to advertise what we have there. What we have there is as far as, either online or in the paper or a bulletin board or something.
Sure.
Advertise.
So more promo, and so you're tied into Mike's promo approach, okay, good.
Excuse me, Don, do you have any pictures of the old shelter?
Old meeting before this one was built?
We do.
Old
We
meeting
do.
before this one? was
Yeah,
built?
before this one, yeah, because if people could see what the old shelter looked like and the present shelter and what's
There
going to
might be
be.
pitch things being finally gathered somewhere.
Okay, cause maybe check that out, cause maybe if we had a whole thing there showing how it's changed.
Before and after.
Right, yeah,
Before, after, and after.
right,
Friends, and I think I have some in
You might have
friends'
some.
house too.
cause if people can see all of that, it's helping the animals, it's better ventilated, it's better space. Maybe it'll be more accepted, maybe it'll be more willing to give donations and stuff.
Yeah.
Sure.
Supposed to, yeah.
Okay, John, you're on.
The only other one I had was, do it right the first time, I guess, and right now, there's some aesthetics there that are clean, very complicated.
You're talking about even the wall materials and the floor materials, all the
Just
composition of
in certain
everything.
spots, but if you didn't know, I mean, animals come in and they may or may not have diseases that you cannot see, obviously. And if they do have diseases, whether they're in the some animals can get sick while they're up for adoption, it just, you know what I mean, we don't have great airflow, things kind of just, but some of those, not the cages per se, but some of the floors in the rooms, you can clean them, I mean, you can clean them, but you're not cleaning them to where if you had parvo, which can last in the environment for a year, you could miss one little microscopic spot. All it takes is one dog step on that and lick his paw. You know what I mean, it's there, yeah, so,
Got it. So here's what I wrote down. Do it right the first time, especially relative to ease of maintenance and health and animal health.
it's disinfecting.
Yep.
Some of the floor, whatever they put on the floors, whatever that sheen, it's a pop, I don't know what it's called, is peeling off. So when you clean it, it's now porous. So it's hard, it doesn't, you know what I mean, it soaks into the.
Yeah.
Well, the walls and the baseboard too.
That's, well, and that's in those two rooms, I don't know what that's about, but Gary said he would fix that for me. But he can't fix it until I go have cats in there.
Yeah, good luck.
All right, thank you. So, Tom, you're up now.
Everybody else is covered, thoughts and
So you have a pass for right now. You can think of one later if you want.
Okay.
You might, you're up.
Well, it just, like Don said about, you gotta, not only you have a user-friendly facility, you also have to worry about the staffing. And the staffing is very difficult to them, you know, to find someone and to keep them for an extended period of time. So the more efficient it can be cleaned and can be upgraded, the better off we're gonna be as far as keeping people, and people that care about animals employed. You know, not only employed, but volunteers.
Yeah, right.
You know, people have to go into, you know, remember the old coal mines, you know what?
I'm sure.
Hey, well, look how efficient they made them now, and they put lights in and took the carts away and all that other stuff.
So here's what I got written down, difficult staffing situation, so keep them as best you can,
Yeah,
and partly through more efficient space.
right.
Okay.
Pass.
Yes.
You know, I actually just thought of something.
Go ahead.
Then I'm done after that. There is no place at that animal shelter, and I'm not saying this has to be put anywhere, but maybe, you know, you guys would do brains. There is no place in there, and I have an idea for employees. There's no, or volunteers, there's no place to hang jackets. There's no place for them to bring. Nope. So they usually throw their stuff in either my office or leave it in the lobby. I mean, there is a little room right now that we're kind of using for a meet and greet, which I don't like for a meet and greet because you close the door and nothing going on, that would be, it'd be perfect for a little employee, just to put their jacket and stuff like that. But,
Break.
yeah, there isn't one. Which it is nice when employees and volunteers come in,
Right.
they feel appreciated, like they got their own little space.
There, if you need
And right
some
now they
food.
don't.
Yeah. Good idea.
It would be. Where are we at?
Front
Is
door.
that my office?
Yeah,
This little room right here,
dog meat,
we never bring dogs in, it's, when you close, it's like what I call it the lighting, you close the door, now you're in a cage. It's just weird, it's like you're just, and it's very small,
yeah.
for even a dog, for
7
two
or 8.
people and kids, yeah, it's really small. But I did think about maybe utilizing this for like employees, so they, you know, coffee pot in there, if you wanna have a drink up, you know, they can hang their coats. The other thing with this room, and I've rinsed this drain multiple times and everything that the maintenance guys have given me, it smells. I don't know if it doesn't have a floor drain in it, but it's hard to stay in there with the door closed. It has an odor, and every day I run the water through the sink, and then I put some stuff down the sink. I don't know if it's cause it doesn't get used that much. Gary said usually if the things go dry in the drains,
Is there a drain in the floor?
there's not a drain in the floor that I'm aware of.
A trap maybe going.
Something, yeah, but
Trap?
so I usually have the door propped open so it doesn't, cause it's basically like you close it and there's no ventilation, you know, it's just kind of a box.
What kind of smell is it?
It just smells like a trap that's dry, or, you know, it just gets so weird. I don't know how else it is.
Right, 75 CFM going in there, so it's supposedly finding its way back
Maybe,
through a returner grill.
so I'm not sure, but that would be employee, and then
Yeah.
these two rooms right here next to the bathroom.
Yeah.
This is our multi-cat rooms here. And I would, when this is all done, I wanna turn these two rooms into meet and greet rooms instead of this room.
Sure, I get it.
But these two rooms have to be completely redone. They have to be redone. And Gary said that's something he could do for me, but he's an extremely busy person. Him and his whole maintenance. They're very busy.
Gary is somebody here at courthouse?
He's a maintenance
Facilities manager.
facilities manager.
Gary Schultz?
Yes.
Yep.
Alright. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
You're up, Doug.
Pass.
He's the-
Mike?
Just, you know, when we get going here a little bit farther in the process, to keep us informed of the process, so we can keep the key players going. And if they request, like at the city council, if they request that they would like to talk to you, you know, your organization or Dan Peterson, whoever, you know, we could get hold of you folks and set up a meeting and come down there
Yeah.
and discuss it for them. You know, we certainly don't wanna keep a secret from anybody, but also when we start the process, they wanna know where the process is.
Sure, sure.
So I would appreciate that.
Yeah, and one of the reasons we do these meetings the way we do is because quite often, our clients, like Ross County, would have, a county website where if you are wondering about this or that, you can look at a page off the county website, or all the meeting notes, or all the drawings, or whatever are available, so that people can find that information at their leisure, as opposed to having to schedule a meeting. Now, if it takes a meeting, that's okay.
Sure.
We do also, as you can imagine, lots of Zoom meetings. Everybody does since the pandemic. So we're happy to do that too at any time you want to schedule such a meeting. Again, you have to notice meetings. You know that better than I do. Dave's an elected official, I'm not. But you have to give advance notice that you can't have a walking quorum issue.
Sure.
Unless it's an emergency.
We won't have emergencies. But we'll have information shared.
Yeah, but this is our meeting, our startup meeting, so, in the process of
Yep,
development, so.
Keep
we
us
wanna make
informed
sure
of the
that we
design
wanna keep the
process.
guys informed.
Good.
The girls too.
Well, each layers, that's what I'm saying. Okay.
Got it.
Now, children.
I feel
Okay,
good.
Terry, you're up.
Okay, what else, well, I passed.
Right,
I passed.
pass. Pass. Good,
I'm good.
all right,
Yeah.
thank you very much for doing that. I hope it was as instructive to you as it was to us. And so at least now we kind of know what our interests are, members around the table who have ultimately opportunity to make, some pretty important decisions on the development of the line. Back to the, agenda. 4B, define the project scope. So if we, I think I'm hearing what you say is if we, through this process, feel that it's not a 20x48 addition on the end, you're open to hearing our thoughts. We'd like to see what that is. So the scope of the project, will evolve, and what I'm also hearing you say is that it's okay for us to take a master plan and an à la carte approach. By à la carte, I mean, if you go to Wendy's, or Burger King, you can have fries or you can skip them, right? So you can look at different pieces of the puzzle here as options or, things that could be considered. And you're also interested in à la carte items that are, I'm asking, not telling, that are easy to add later at very minimal cost, if any cost. Is that true? Okay, all right. And then, we will define the project scope in lots of different ways through written documents and drawings. Scope of the project. Part of that scope of the project is outside the building, not inside the building. Let's talk about that a little bit. So when we do what we call space needs programming, it's two things, like there might be on a piece of paper somewhere that there's, maybe it's a spreadsheet, that there's a, room that we might call a purgatory room. And that purgatory room might function this way, these different features of how it functions, and it might be on the range of X number of square feet. Right at the moment, you don't care if X is, let's just say it's 100. You don't care if that's 8 by 12 as opposed to 10 by 10. You might later, but right at the moment you don't. So in that same way, we wanna list out all the spaces that are necessary. But in that same way, let's talk about outside the building. Okay, we haven't visited the site yet, but based on looking at lots of aerial photos and things, kind of down a back road. Feels like it's industrial in that area. And you're down the road off the beaten path. Okay, it's just the way it is. From there, you really can't efficiently go north to get into the heart of the community. So it seems to me it's more efficient to go back to 27 and up, but the locals know how to do it. Right? That's pretty normal, right? So with respect to what's outside the building, the exterior, we use the word amenities. Okay, are there exterior features that would help create more interest in adoption? And if there are, what might those be, for instance? You don't have to answer that unless you have a thought, but we might
Maybe
want bike parking or whatever.
Any part of the building?
Yeah, or.
Right now there's not, but
Signage.
Yeah, could be signage.
well, And I thought too, or I know this might not be what this is, but see where these windows are here?
Yeah.
So this is where the building is now.
Okay.
What I would like to see is in front of these windows, so we're gonna add like a handicap entrance there, but if possible, but sidewalk, and then parking right here, so that when people pull up, they pull up and we got cat room, cat room, cat room. There's a window in every one of those cat rooms, and then if Purgatory is still here, he has monkey cages here, that's just what I call them. But I would prefer, instead of this window in the back where nobody can see anything, I prefer a window there, so that when you pull up, you've got this nice lighted, part of the building where there's a nice sidewalk where people can, get up without any difficulties. And windows and some nice lighting, above those windows that would actually make that look, you can see those animals and they're gonna be on their little cat trees. And you can actually, if the windows are big enough, you can actually see into the actual, the rest of the cave, you know what I mean? You can look all the way through, you can see all of this. Cause behind here, this is the back wall, there's nothing but, woods and dog fences.
Right, in the wetlands.
Yeah, basically.
Swampland, yeah.
So you wanna create something that's enticing to.
Yeah, I mean, I think,
inside?
cause right now, when you pull up, I mean, we have a light that's above the one door, we have a light that's above the impound. But the impound door is kind of in the front, and then there's this window, it's just kind of not.
It's cold.
It's cold, it's not pretty, it's not that it should be pretty, you know what I mean, it's just not aesthetically pleasing, I guess. When you pull up, it looks like a lean-to, not a lean-to.
You wanna create the
It looks like a
interest, so.
storage
I wanna go
building.
in.
Yes, bullshit storage.
A whole shed.
But when you drive up, you wanna see something that.
Yeah, when they
entices you,
drive
so
up,
you
people
wanna-
know that's the
you
animal
wanna-
shelter, yeah.
You wanna go in and see what else is in it.
Yeah.
So, again, promotion.
Well, and that's why I thought, the door on that side, because when people can walk, they can walk in there, they don't have to walk in on the other side unless they wanna go see the dogs. Cause the dogs would be over there, which is wonderful that the cats and dogs are, cause right now, the garage that the cats are in, that one wall is right against our impound. I can't move any of those cages back there, maintenance hasn't had time to help me, but when there's dogs in impound over the night, they bark. And I had a pregnant cat back there and the whole wall was shaking, her cage was shaking, cause that dog would not stop barking. It's like there's no soundboard, and she was freaked out, but I can't move them to the other wall because there's too much.
Yep.
It would have to be a lot of people.
We did a Wausau Animal Hospital, and we have a dog here, Cat's Tail approach. And, to some cats, just even seeing a dog is a traumatic experience, so, we get it, so.
But anyways, yeah, I think that would look really nice with the right lighting and the right windows. And then people would pull up and it would be, that's our adoption, it would basically be an adoption center right there for cats, you could.
And so one thing that I would throw out in response to what you're saying, just asking, I'm not telling, I'm asking, is if we, do a drawing, a master plan drawing, that shows something like that in a handicap entry between the two, we might in fact suggest, if it makes sense and minimal cost, of creating that handicapped entrance as a new main entrance to the whole building, just as an option, right, something to think about.
That was one of the issues raised about the handicap, whether it could be there as opposed to the main entrance. There is a handicapped entrance there now, but.
Sure.
There's no push button, right?
No,
There's no push
and
button.
to redo it, and it's, when you see it, you've got sharp corners and everything. Just what you were mentioning though on that, and what Dawn's talking about, that is a north exposure, so you've gotta think about, you're facing north, and you're gonna have the north winds and the cold and everything, that way, so it's a north exposure, so as far as insulation and other type stuff, or
Yeah, we
triple pane glass, or
Well,
whatever,
You might have a completely different idea, I mean, that was my drawing, that was my.
You start
I
somewhere.
had it in pencil, and all the colored pens.
And you don't necessarily have to come straight in either, off the
Right.
door. You can come off the side and make it
Right.
entry with display also, so there's ways of doing it.
Yeah, and windbreaks.
Yeah.
And they made pine roads for a reason, okay, so we'll figure that out. Okay, now what about the other amenities, like, if you, do people bike over there ever?
It's more of an industrial
It's
area.
a destination you have to go to by car or truck, am I correct?
I've seen a couple people walk over there, but that's it.
no
have
sidewalks
in town.
anywhere nearby,
No.
No,
that kind of thing. And so, you know, I don't know if that's worth even thinking about, but we could create an opportunity where you could consider some on-site amenities, since you have land, that might attract people, whatever they might be. Or if that's a picnic table that the staff uses most of the way, why not, you know, create some opportunity for using the land differently tomorrow than you did yesterday. Okay.
and it's nice, what we don't have right now, and this has nothing to do with any of this, but when people, come see the dogs, there's really not, I mean, there is that meet and greet room, but that's really not, it's so small. But when they wanna meet dogs outside right now, they have to go into the back. And sometimes the back is not that pretty, well, because that's where they go in the morning and they go potty,
Sure.
it's not really, and there's no shade back there. For like, if you wanted, if it was 90 degrees and you wanted to hang out with the dog, there's a bench and they removed all the trees, I think, when they did it, and there's no shade, so it's way too hot out there to have a family of people come out and meet a dog
Yep.
in that area.
Another example of a master plan element that shows shade and some setting, so that you can properly utilize a space differently tomorrow than you did yesterday.
Is there any interest like in a dog park?
We have a dog park right next door.
Okay, so that's a draw as far
Yep,
as.
so the dog park is right next, the dog park is actually really nice, and there is trees and shade and stuff right there.
Was that funded separately, or was that
I have
part of this?
no
project?
idea.
Yes.
Was it-
Yeah, so it's like, so.
Cause I know in
You'll see it when
Boston,
you,
whatever,
Yeah.
that's a big item, and Grim Mountain did a very nice one.
and there's a lot of people that go there, they actually have a big dog area and there's a little dog area. And that has plenty of shade and cute little, I don't know, tchotchkes out there, what they're called, stuff in the wall. It's nice.
So I'm gonna actually, jump to floor D, is there a schedule before we talk about budget funding? You'll figure out why here in a minute. So if let's think big picture about schedule. If, I've never done a project with an unlimited budget, ever. I've been doing this for over 50 years, okay, not a kid. So, in that context, if we had our preference and money were no objective, would we build this starting in the spring? Would we start construction in the spring? Is that the best?
Yes, it would be ideal, but there are a number of committees and approvals that everything's gotta go through, it's gotta be put out for bids
Well, we know that.
and all of that type stuff, so it would be nice to get it done in 2024.
Okay, so the ideal schedule is construction completion before the end of 2024. Whatever it
That would
takes.
be
I'm just saying
ideal.
yeah.
Ideal.
It may not be practical.
Right.
Yeah, that's the ideal. Occupy by end of 2024. Okay.
The other thing right along with that, you'll have to remember, in April, the committees will change.
Oh, sure.
And the thing is, with the election, so then there'll be an educational process
All
in
over.
that too, you know, right in the middle of this, the whole process, so just kind of keep that in mind,
Yep.
you know. And that'll be the educational, the people that take out papers, they're in by the 7th of January, so then all of a sudden, from the 7th of January till April 1st till the election, the guys that, the key players in the whole thing that are really interested in it, they will get the information right
Right.
along with it. You see what I mean?
David
Right
shared.
now, we don't know who those folks are, but.
Right, Dave shared that with me on the way over here, that, you know, it's time to serve papers one way or the other.
Right, yeah.
Whether you're running or not. Okay, so, yeah, things are a bit dynamic. Okay. Now, our standard approach to construction cost estimating, which is a part of our service that we're providing you, is to presume today's costs. You can understand why. If you were in my shoes, nobody has a crystal ball. Do you prefer us to show a cost assuming a construction start of a certain date? Like, let's say, I'm making this up for illustration, July 1st of 2024? Do you prefer us to do that?
Like what the future cost would be.
Yeah, so that we will build in some escalation to July 1st, knowing it does have to be,
Yeah.
there's 30 days, there's this, there's that. State approval plans, whatever it is.
We want
stuck because you don't know. So we will pick a date that's in the future, but you'll help me pick the date, will you? And I'm gonna propose that the start of construction would be July 1st, 2024. Do you think it's actually later than that?
Why you
I
pick
guess-
July first, I'm just curious.
Just because it's halfway through the calendar year and halfway through the construction season.
I guess that's hard to make a decision on without seeing what you're proposing and what,
Also, how long, the length of construction as well.
Yeah, in a project of this scope, if this were anywhere near the scope, you should be able to knock this out in 6 months.
Then that's kind of short.
Short?
Well, yeah, July, I mean, you're gonna be looking at
Oh,
getting
oh.
into, our winter season.
July, so
That'll be the
the,
internal stuff.
the stuff that's weather sensitive is done before Labor Day. In a schedule that is July 1st.
You worked on the internal stuff.
For her, I mean, for the, perhaps starting earlier in July.
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna say later.
No.
So now we're talking, that's fine.
But
May
we still gotta
15th?
But we gotta get through all the different boards and get the approval now,
But yeah, the funding.
for funding, yeah.
yeah.
Now, this has to go through the city.
Yes, but the county, it's got more county committees. The city does have a say in it because they are, the agreement is as far as physical structures, yes. Operating, the city doesn't have much say in, but, physical structures, yes. So the city has to approve these.
I'm gonna tell you based on a lot of experience doing these with municipalities like you, governmental entities like you, July 1st is probably the best you can hope for. Sorry, don't shoot the messenger.
That makes sense.
We have to advertise it, class 2 notice. We have to allocate at least 30 days for the bid period. Unless you have some silver bullet on how you can build it differently than that, the traditional way, that's what it's gonna take. So,
Yeah,
let's
keep
look
it-
at the schedule at the top of the backside. And then I think it'll bring it to home. So if we do this Space Needs program and conceptual design now to mid-January, we would have, 50% complete package mid to late January, and 99% schematics somewhere between there and mid-February. So you wouldn't actually have a package of information, drawings and specifications and estimates and schedule that you can take to start getting governmental approval entities going, like committees and commissions, until then. If that's true, if everybody said all in March, yep, go, and the gifts and grants were wildly successful in March, April, May, and June, a governmental entity under statutes, you cannot sign a contract unless you have the cash in the till, not a pledge, no pledges, the cash in the till. Can't sign a construction contract. I'm here to tell you, based on experience, the best you're gonna hope for is July 1st construction start. And it's on that.
That's part of that realistic goal thing.
Yeah.
We strive for the July 1st. That's one thing, and then people can accept this is what we're trying to do, this is what we're trying to get done.
Exactly, exactly.
Well,
And if we delay things another month to talk about it and think about it, but it's August 1st. That's pretty simple.
You'll probably have to go through finance, even though they're not financing.
Because we have a bunch of committees, we have property,
And the whole
we have
county
joint
board.
management. Facilities,
It takes
so
time.
keep
We
layers.
get shot down during a regular meeting. I think you will have to
Okay.
do a special.
Let's leave that there that way. So we'll gear up our estimates for the July 1st construction. Okay, now, site for expansion. There is a wetlands delineation that's been accomplished. I don't know if you're aware of this. Don't shoot the messenger, I have nothing to do with it, but DNR, of course, is your favorite friend of worst enemy. And so they put on your drawing for you.
Oh,
these
wetlands.
Wetlands. We're out, we can't build it there. So our expansion opportunity is limited. And if the building does want to extend, let's just say eastward, just for an illustration. Parking, we have parking over there. Well, wetlands right there,
Use the building on this map.
right there.
Yeah, so I think where we put it is here.
Yeah, and here's the wetlands. So all of a sudden, there's no really room on the east side of the building for all the parking that's
The
implied by
parking
this.
would hope to go, cause there's a driveway here, and it's a
Here's
huge
the
driveway
driveway,
here.
here's the road.
Well, I'm at the back,
Yeah, you're
no,
right.
here. Was this wetland
This
right
is the
here?
driveway, that's wetlands too. See,
Yeah,
this is
so
the driveway.
here it was, here, yeah, but, yeah, and like I said, it depends on how you,
Well, the wetland delineation is this colored line.
okay.
So the only opportunity you have here, so that's a long way of saying, this kind of parking that is in this bigger portion east of the building might have to come closer to the front.
Well, this is where we have this is our dog impound door,
Yep.
cat impound door, we have our trash bin is here, we have a big dumpster for cans, and we have 2 sheds, and our dog park is right here.
Yeah. Yep.
That's why.
So it's limited based on the wetlands delineation.
And those are other permits that you'd have to get.
To get it.
And they're
We're
hard,
going into the wetlands.
they're very hard. to
You
Yeah.
wouldn't have a chance of starting this until 2026.
Right.
We're messing with wetlands.
That's a good day too.
Okay.
And that, like say July 1 might be early,
And it's just a
tentative.
dart on a calendar so that we can gear it, yes, next summer. Okay, so that's our schedule review, we just did number 6. Next meeting, so I would recommend that we have a mid-design Zoom meeting. If you want David here and you'd rather be in person, or me, or both, that's not an issue. But sometimes it is a little more efficient for people to do Zoom meetings. I don't know how
Yeah.
you view
Well,
it.
we could Zoom, we can ask questions right here, You guys just get on the screen and.
So you're not averse to potential for Zoom
Oh,
meetings?
no, we did a lot of that, COVID, right? Yeah.
And then a final schematic design review in person, I use the terminology F the number 2, then F, face to face. That's what I do. So that meeting would be F to F, face to face. So that we can walk you through, hover over a drawing, this and that, right? In person. So you can ask all your questions. Is that raw concrete floor? No, yes, this and that. And then we can make presentations. Sounds like there might be a presentation brewing to the city council, there might be a presentation brewing to the common board, whatever, make presentations. Okay?
When you just mentioned floor, would this addition, just a thing Tyson, some of this says, would that have like tubing in the floor and a heated floor?
In-floor radiant, we would look at that if, and that would be we designed in-floor radiant throughout the new Deerfield Village Hall, City of Deerfield, which is over near O'Connell Walk. They decided not to implement it for various reasons, including budget, but it's common to our practice to design in-floor radiant. We're doing a facility for the city of Shawano right now, we are using in-floor radiant. So it just varies on people's perceptions. There is no more efficient way to heat it, but the implication, the flip side of that is, you have unit heaters.
that way.
You can't air condition that way, exactly. So you got unit heaters that are nicely providing some of your heat, they provide no air conditioning. So, we'll look at it, Dan Peterson will be talking us through all the options.
Just curious, do you ever incorporate, skylights?
Yes, quite often. And in fact, we have some going in Shawano, but they're not skylights in the old elementary school sense, they're what we call solitubes.
Oh,
Solitubes. And they are tubular skylights, they're generically referred to as. And yes, we do that quite a lot. have some, plenty of them, going to Shawano, the project David and I are working on together in construction right now. for the
That
city.
enables you to not have people see what they have that too.
It doesn't matter.
It's very highly effective and
You see, we can shape,
you can get different diffusers as far as along that light. So
and
you
they
can
affect
different
an offset, no big deal.
Yeah, Dawn, that's what you probably want for the kids.
That
Just
is
something to where, I mean, lights are nice, obviously, but, you know, there's, right now, the rooms that they're in, they have a huge window, but it's dark in there, like, I'm like, they're not facing the, you know, so we have to turn the lights on, which is fine, but they, both those rooms have big windows, but they're still dark.
One of the neat things is at night, you don't have to move,
Mm-hmm.
that it will light up.
The cats are up all night, cats mostly sleep during the day.
What are they, I have a question, you know, that in-floor heat we have at the senior center and stuff, there's only 1 degree difference between the two, you know, it's really efficient, but the big thing with the animal shelter is what happens when it generates the heat on the floor, and you can't clean it properly, you know, the disease part of it.
I've never had an
Wouldn't it
issue
run
with cleaning.
rampant, wouldn't it kind of run rampant if the heat was on the floor? You know what I mean?
I've never
not that
had
hot.
that
Well,
before.
it keeps the floor drier, if you are
It will,
cleaning.
okay.
The other
Yeah, I
thing
mean,
is-
I think you turn the, if you're clean, I mean, most of the in-floor heat you can turn off, like if you're mopping them.
Well,
I think-
it will take a long time to go.
Cool.
And that's
Yeah.
the benefit of it, cause if you're gonna wanna bring in outside air and ventilate it properly.
Yeah.
Then you're not exhausting, forced air furnace, your air is heating versus the floor, which, and that's why you use a house garage or whatever it is. When you open those garage doors, the heat's not going out, it's staying in that massive concrete. So it would be actually an
Actually
extra
dry.
for animal comfort,
Yeah.
that's what they're gonna wanna lay.
Sure.
And it's not hot enough, I think some people think like those
No,
in-floor
it's-
heats are like
it's
hot, where they're
not.
evaporating the
It's
water,
not.
like, every veterinary clinic and every, I think, the shelters I worked in all had, they had their in-floor heating in their surgical suites where the animals were recovering from anesthesia and their dog rooms, that's where they had it. So that when the dogs are on the floor, they're not freezing, they're not losing body heat through the floor, that's what that,
Sure.
you know what I mean?
Or actually for
So-
staff, that's a nice
Right.
feature,
Mhm.
because you have on your feet and working, and you have that
Full
floor
swells
where you want that.
I don't think it has anything to do with disease.
But I
It'll
guess,
reduce it a good way.
Right.
but I guess this would be, you know, how much additional is and how much would it cost?
Yeah, we'll
So
put some numbers
the
on that for
options.
you.
The main thing I look at is your, like you said, with air conditioning, it's not gonna be air conditioning, so you're still introducing a forced air system into it for animals, and if you do that with engine recovery, and so there's different options to look at.
But they have to do that for the other part of the animal shelter right now anyhow, so I mean,
Right,
that'll
yeah,
just tie
right.
in
So
when
you
you
tie
look
it.
at the whole picture.
Yep, so of course, we're not considering in-floor radiant for the existing building.
No,
We have to jack
no,
the slab up.
no,
Yeah.
no,
That's all.
It's unfortunate that it doesn't already have it.
Yeah, and in fact,
It is what it
the
is.
existing shelter is fully occupied
Mhm.
and 24/7, so to speak, all right? It just is.
Yeah.
So we have to minimize disruption in the existing operation as well.
Sure.
All part of the game plan.
What goes down with, on the street, is it like a gesso type? Or is it actually a concrete product that?
For in-floor radiant,
Yeah,
okay, so in-floor radiant starts with going way down in the ground. It starts with granular fill. Sand.
oh, so your ground has to be prepped prior,
Yeah,
Mhm.
so that you don't lose the heat.
well then,
The heat rises, so.
let me finish. So that's the first step in the process. On that, you put a vapor barrier, so that if you do have floor coverings, they don't buckle and warp because moisture's coming up this way.
Okay.
Then comes the insulation. R10, 2 inches of rigid insulation. Then comes stapled on what we call PEX, tubing, which is what distributes the hot water around. That gets stapled onto the insulation. Okay, once that's on there, then we pour 4 inches of concrete on it. And so the concrete becomes a heat sink, SINK, and it holds the heat. Warm air does rise, which is why you can use in-floor radiant to just heat the whole space if you want to. And there are manifolds you go to on the wall that allow you to adjust, if you want to, the flow rate of the boiler, the water into the PEX. So if you do want it 80, you can get it 80, it's not a problem. They do overheat all the time. And you can adjust it down so that it is exactly 71, or exactly what temperature you want.
We just put that in a brand new garage. We're probably not going to use it, but it's there for the future, cause you
Yeah.
gotta do it like you said, when you build it, otherwise forget it.
And like Jim was saying, you can use zones, so if you've got an area that's active, like where the cats are here, you can do the center where you shut down or cool down that zone, the center.
Right, and there are different strategies we utilize depending on situations. The heat loss is in fact by the windows, right? The exterior walls and windows, primarily the windows. Again, don't shoot the messenger, windows are R4, these exterior walls without windows are R25. Big difference. R4 in the glass in the window, R25 in the wall. Okay, where we do have windows, the PEX piping might be 12 inches on center. Whereas out in the middle, they might not have any, as David was just saying, or 24 inches on center. So we do different design strategies depending on the situation. And deliver different temperatures depending on the situation. And the manifold adjusts these zones. So if you want the north side to be warmer for whatever reason, that would be its own zone by comparison to the south side. Okay. That was a long answer to your question, but
No, but that's all right, I'm glad.
Okay.
No, but I just wanted to mention it, and, you know, the drying factor, and that'd be great.
Yeah.
I like that idea,
Okay. You actually, what happened was you started our round robin. On round robin, what that means is we just gotta go around to see if people have questions or comments before we call it adjourned. Okay? So thank you for doing it. You'll get another chance. So let's do it this way again. For round robin, which means feel free to make any comment you want, ask any question, or circle back on something that was talked about before, and we're each gonna take a whack at it, and then we're gonna adjourn the meeting and adjourn down to the shelter. You're up. If you don't have anything, that's okay, you can say pass.
I'm gonna pass.
Okay, David?
I'm
Just
sure I
for-
got something.
What's the average visiting, or visitors on a kind of daily basis that you have?
In count?
In, yeah.
Quantity?
Quantity.
I
It
guess
probably varies.
It varies a lot, some
It
days,
varies
nobody
based on
comes
the
in,
day of the week.
day of the week, the weather, sometimes if it's nasty out, it depends if we put a bunch of new animals up on Facebook or how about our adopt a pet, but anywhere from like, I guess, 3 to 8, I guess, if I had to like average it out per day.
I wouldn't even say average, you
2
know,
to
range, the range.
Yeah,
would
I
be
mean, some days all kinds of people come in and phone doesn't stop ringing and,
In a bell-shaped curve, it'd be 2 to 10.
yeah,
True?
yeah.
All right, fair enough. David, anything else?
I guess, I'm just curious about, I've seen on DIY shows where, like they would, this would be just pertaining to existing shelter. Where they've taken, is it possible to put down, like a paper barrier on the existing cement floor?
To make
And then-
paper barrier paint finishes.
Okay, let me finish.
Okay.
So then they put, after that, then they put down this, it's like, it's a product that basically has slots in it, and then you pump, pound your tubing into these slots depending on how you want to spread it, the way you talked about before, if you want, 12 on center or 24 on center, whatever. And then they cover it like with 2 inches of concrete, and then what you have then is radiant.
Sort of like what you do for a back.
Yeah.
Heated floor.
Yeah, yeah.
And after the fact.
So I'm wondering, is that a possibility with their existing structure or not?
Sure.
Or do we even not wanna go
So,
there?
can we put inflow radiant over the top of the existing concrete slab? That's
Yeah.
rhetorically, that's your question.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll explore that. The answer is yes, you can. The answer is how do you do it? And, say for instance, we lay the tubing right on there and then pour 3 inches of concrete on top of that. now all of a sudden the addition has to be 3 inches higher than it might have been.
Doors and everything.
Yeah, you gotta figure that out. That's not
Or
the end of the world.
create a transition, a slow transition from the entry to.
Yeah, it's not
So
the end of the world,
maintenance-
but yes, we'll explore that.
Just curious, I mean, if that is something.
The good news there is you would build one boiler that would serve both the addition and the new, so you don't have double the equipment costs and greatly reduce energy costs.
The floors have to be redone eventually at some point.
One great thought, thank
I was
you.
just saying too, with that, as far as duplications of systems, in case of emergency, where you have power go out or whatever, if you have dual or a system go out, then you have a backup system with all the animals in there. Do you have any?
We have a
type of
generator, yeah, electric generator, it just comes on when things go off, so, I really don't put the generator.
Hopefully it's.
Yeah,
it's
so
not
diesel.
electric.
Yeah, it works.
Okay,
That's appropriate.
okay, good. Tom, did we figure you're on, Rob and I?
Yes, sir.
All right, good. Mike, you're up.
I think one thing that we need to look at in the overall plan is what Terry said when we first started. We, inside that plan, we need to be able to temporarily expand the services. What happened if we have 120 cats? See what I mean? You know, if I go to the fair some years, the animals are down, then all of a sudden the exhibits are up, then all of a sudden they start stacking cages temporarily, like for rabbits or chickens or whatever like that. And then all of a sudden, you know what? The next year, they're down to the level where all the kids can peek in again, but the thing is, temporarily, we need to be able to respond for an overflow, right?
Yeah.
And, you know what I mean?
At least for, like, if we're full, like, if we have no cages, we just don't take surrenders, we can't.
Sure.
Cause I'm not, the more animals you shove into that shelter, you are asking for trouble. It only takes one sick animal, we've already been there this year at least 6 times, maybe more.
Yeah.
It only takes one sick animal, if you don't have room for them, you shouldn't be taking it, but we have to always take strays. And animals at large, we don't have a choice on that one, but surrenders, we don't get a lot of it, but we can't take everything, unfortunately, but. Plus, I don't have enough staff to take care of them, but the ventilation, even if the ventilation was better, there's still, even with this addition, that garage is gonna be, basically, I don't wanna say cut in half, but maintenance is gonna do something for me to where there's gonna be a wall, cause I still, with this, I still do not have a sick room for cats. So that's what they're gonna do back there, he's gonna try to put me a window in there, to try to put me some sort of ventilation in there, so I can at least keep the sick ones out of the way.
But a decent place.
But in a decent place, at least there's a window, it's still the ventilation, but that's my only option that I have.
Sure.
Because my main goal is to get these animals up in the adoption room, which currently I only have 16 cats up there. Actually more, cause I have a couple siblings in the same cage, but, so. And I don't like people going back there and picking cats up, because it's slightly embarrassing, I guess, if I'm being honest, with the back room. So I try to have everybody up and.
But you didn't
happy.
design it, so.
No.
Okay, did we catch your?
Did I answer your question?
Okay, Terry, you're up.
I guess, looking at reality, like what Tom said about going back and retrofitting the whole animal shelter, I would say probably the dollars aren't going to be there. I mean, cost is a very, very important thing. We are not going to get funding, well, currently from the city or the county.
I see.
And like was mentioned earlier, the animal shelter and everything is at the bottom of everybody's list. And just even trying to get approval to get you guys on board, I had to
It's taken a
face,
year.
I had to face,
A
opposition from
year
that and
got me
everything.
through hoops.
And so I would say some of these things, yeah, it's nice, if we win the lottery, okay, we can redo it, but, realistically, costs are going to be an important thing. And, that's why the size of the room or whatever. Again, with all that we've said, we want it efficient, we want it for the animals, and aesthetic and all that stuff, but again, I think it, as it does for all these projects, boils down to money.
Is the the animal shelter under contract with any municipalities as far as, like, I know, say Lost Waste Street, that we have to take strays.
Well,
We
'cause-
have this amount, and there's a dollar amount associated with it.
We're owned by the county, so the
Okay.
Wausau is a nonprofit, so they're not
Right,
owned by the
right.
county. So they do have that, we are county owned, so we don't, that's
I
just,
know
We
that-
are-
we're not getting paid to pick up our own animals, I guess. is
Cause I know that was a big issue as far as how much we give to the Humane
Right,
Society.
yeah,
And
so
it's all
it's-
based on numbers.
So it's a little different, cause we are not a nonprofit, we are county owned, so.
And we're one of the few county-owned animal shelters in the state, so that's quite different from a lot of the other ones that are nonprofit, they have a corporation that funds them, or, 501c3 or whatever. We are county-owned, well, county-city-owned, but it's a joint.
So legally, you have to take, what, if some animal control or
Yes,
the sheriff or
we are,
whatever will
yeah.
bring something in,
Yeah.
you have to take it no matter what.
There are, like, if you are a nonprofit shelter, you don't have to have any contract with any municipalities. I wanna say, Sawyer County, they actually have an animal control facility where they just do impounds, and then they actually have a nonprofit animal shelter. So, I'm guessing the impounds go there, and then the shelter must, after 4 days, they probably take those, I don't really know how it works, but
Do you have any associations with other shelters?
we have leaded our little friends out to many
Okay.
rescues when we got into situations where I took 26 puppies.
Dawn has a lot of contacts, and I mean, all the way up to Ashland, and, all the other around here.
Watertown,
And she has a lot
Rylander.
of contacts, so if we have excess, try and get them to take them and everything, so yeah, she has a lot of the contacts, that really helps.
cause the one thing you don't wanna do, and I know that a lot of people, or a lot of shelters that they get new buildings, they improve, they make it bigger, they make it more functional. The problem that they then have is they don't have enough staff to take care of it, and I don't have enough staff to take care of what I have right now. I'm not looking to make more work for myself, I have plenty, I just want what they already should have gotten, you know what I mean? And there will be able to be more animals in there, cause we do have more kennels. But the way it is now, they're all over the place in some spots, so they're all gonna be in that one area, so it will make things better. Makes sense.
Yep, okay, Terry, did you finish your
That-
thought?
Yep,
Okay. Okay, I got one that, again, based on a lot of experience. So we did the project in Verona called Angel's Wish. I don't know if you're aware of it or care for that. It's a cat facility, a cat adoption facility,
Cat
Yeah.
Mullen?
yeah, kind of, and
It's called Angels.
Angel's Wish, and the reason it's called Angel's Wish is because of naming rights. So you know how public libraries will name this or name that, and you give money, and you get your name on the wall, okay? So again, as a part of the promotional plan that Mike was talking about before, the governmental, powers that be in this community with respect to that building might wanna consider that as an option. And so we might have naming rights for different pieces inside the building as opposed to the whole shelter itself. So if you were to be offered a check for X in exchange for my family name on the outside of the front of the building, that's the question you should contemplate. What's X? And are people willing to do that? So money talks everywhere, and there's something for you to think about as naming rights. Okay?
How about like a brick or something on the outside?
All good ideas.
Well, it could
All
be
good
something
ideas.
unique too, I did, Service guy, he did actually granite, I guess accent piece on the building, and people gave to that. He did the original edition that, was the Gearman film, that, they're not a large plaque, but just something recognition that.
I've seen them where they actually, the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Is
Buy a
like,
brick.
like the old
Yep.
school bricks, like
Yep.
back in the
Buy a
1900s or,
brick.
yeah, and the whole entire sidewalk is people's names.
And you may even wanna look at a feature in the building or something that, you know, adds
Yeah.
that aesthetic value, but also recognizes the individual.
We've done a living tree where your family is a leaf on a tree,
Mhm.
and all kinds of different things are useful and appropriate. And your major employers, these are not major in the sense of, hundreds of thousands of employees, but your major, employers might wanna be approached at some point in time for, naming rights. Nothing wrong with that.
The other thing might be in-kind too.
You've been to, like County Materials or whatever.
We did that and,
You've been to, Lambeau Field, of course, there's Johnsonville Pavilion, right, for a reason, right?
Yeah.
It's just, there's a reason, why, money. Okay, now, one last thing, just real quick, you don't all have to round robin on this, but real quick, so we can wrap up by 2. Is this meeting gone okay for you? Is there anything we haven't covered that you wanted to cover? Just been a good kickoff and a good start? Anybody, something we should have covered, we didn't? Everybody on the same page? Please read any emails, okay?
Okay, you're probably coming to this, but, because for this, we're going to be adjourning, we're not adjourning, we're going to move to the animal shelter. Our committee is not adjourning, we're just moving out there, but we need to set a date for the next meeting, or what the next, whether it's Zoom or whatever.
Sounds like it's gonna be a Zoom.
Pardon me?
Sounded like it was gonna be a Zoom.
Sounds like it's gonna be a Zoom, and it sounds like it's gonna be in January. And I didn't actually have that down, because David and I, now that we have the turf, the challenge, we have to look at our workload, okay?
Sure.
So we'll get back to you shortly, it won't be before the New Year's Day. So we'll get back to you soon and let you know a targeted date for a Zoom meeting, but I apologize for not suggesting an exact date right now.
No, that's fine, because our schedules are, most of our committee meetings and everything are fixed in advance. But again, some of us have other meetings, and so, that'll be fine, you can get a hold of me and we can,
Okay. So I wanna do one more thing with all of your permission. These folks over here, does anybody here have round robin? Anything you'd like to mention or ask before we, read it?
We did actually do some, what you had just talked about. There is a plaque inside the shelter of some major donors. And I also personally did a matching grant challenge for various people in the community, and some of them were not very willing, because I personally talked to a lot of the people. But that worked quite well. We got $16,000 from the community, which, we matched, and we put, it ended up being a totally small plaque, but, that was a recognition. They got their name in the building if they gave $1,000, they got their name in the paper if they gave 1,000 or 500, so we do have some experience with that kind of funding too.
Great. Anybody else? Very good, thanks for coming. So back to you, Chair.
Okay, so we will move now and go out to the animal shelter and look. I mean, you don't have to come out if you don't want to. So they get the lay of the land out there and actually see, the actual shelter, and it'll be a little bit better than just looking at drawings and aerial photos. So we will convene out there, it's 2 o'clock, probably 2:15 or something. I mean, as soon as, just go directly from here out there. Joanne?
Can I say one more thing? I forgot. I think that the idea of, getting out there to the villages and the townships.
Donations, yeah, I like that
Yes,
idea.
I think that'd be a very good idea.
Even just for letting them know what's going on, because there are people that do the animal shelter.
And if there's an advocate you know of in that area, like I live in the village of Conrad, I could do the village of Conrad, present material, or if there was something that, I could give them, talk to them, so.
We can also talk to Weathershield gives us, the Life Foundation.
Mhm.
that's why we quoted our fee proposal the way we do, because sometimes there are matching grants.
We do have quite a few people that support us.
Community soda, we got no, have they? Marty
I
Road?
don't, I don't think.
Are you
so.
going to go?
Yeah.
Yeah, I put it down.
Get on my ask them.
What? I'm not back. Probably right now, too. I've got two ready for school.
I'm the one who's got, or, and the code.
Oh, yeah, they-